It's launch week for Season 3, and with that, of course, means a lot of new content to go over and break down, but today I want to take some time to focus on the opposite side of the coin. We're not talking front-facing content additions here like this, but instead, gameplay adjustments, new features, fixes, and all that you'll notice on a more fundamental level while playing Modern Warfare 2 multiplayer, Warzone 2, or DMZ. So, as we go along, drop your thoughts below. What do you think of these changes? Like them? Dislike them? Impartial to them? Whatever the case, feel free to let me know. If you enjoyed the video, you find it at all insightful, do me a favor and drop a like on it, and if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing to stay updated with all things Modern Warfare 2, Warzone 2, and anything Season 3 related ahead of the launch here. A lot to talk about over the upcoming week and beyond, so make sure you stay here if you're interested. I'd love to have you in the community. Finally, if interested, code Espresso gets you 30% off your order over at gfuel.com with certain items like the tubs of Starfruit and Hype Sauce, two of my personal favorites linked below, but more on that a little later. For now, let's take a look at the upcoming changes for Season 3. So firstly, to start, I want to touch on some blog post coverage that was expanded upon with some of these changes earlier today. Firstly, let's talk about some of these Warzone changes. One of the biggest ones that I'm sure a lot of people will be interested in is the return of one-shot sniper metas in Warzone. Now, it's detailed as expect the return of the one-shot sniper rifles under certain attachment and platform conditions as a part of the seasonal update. Now, we don't get much more detail on it beyond that, but it appears this will not be something that's just a standard default, like the headshot multiplier for sniper rifles is increased to the point where it's always a one-shot kill. However, with the mention of under certain attachments and platform conditions, it may be mimicking the bug that we saw in Warzone 2 already, where it was, I want to say, incendiary or explosive rounds that was a one-shot headshot for a short period of time before it was patched that allowed for the same outcome. Either way, it sounds like it's going to be similar with this update, but personally, I'm all for the one-shot headshot meta returning, but it is kind of a bummer now that I think that this will be a crutch attachment if it is something that is locked behind a certain attachment. So that's something to consider, but you should start to now be seeing some clips and things like that for insane clutch sniping moments or something within Warzone 2. But we also saw the detailing of new buy station changes where buy station locations will be favoring the player a little more, such as safer spots like indoor locations or places by cover nearby so that you're not just out in the open entirely. But in terms of things detailed by the blog post, that was it for the Warzone 2 side of things. DMZ had a specific DMZ blog here in which this is going to be a larger section because they kind of spilled the beans on everything upcoming with DMZ, and there's a lot in terms of gameplay changes. First and foremost, the barter system being introduced. This kind of like your crafting system from the campaign almost, where there's recipes for certain items that you can trade up to. This, they detailed, will have available items such as new plate carriers and backpacks, which we'll detail those in a second. There's a couple of different variations now. Kill streaks, self-revives, keys, and detailed dozens of trade item combinations that will be coming with the launch of Season 3, and presumably we'll have more on the way. We also learned a bit more about the Contraband Workbench. Again, a small fee here available to then trade so that you can end up changing attachments and other certain attributes of specific contraband weapons, stuff that you can pick up off of AI, find in loot caches, or as just rewards for DMZ missions. But previously you could not alter anything of that, but now if you like one of those builds, you can change it on the fly a little bit. These will be found around buy stations, but not explicitly marked, so you got a little bit of a hunt here whenever you end up going to look for them, but shouldn't be too terribly hard. We also had a bit more information on the active duty slots here, which is essentially your DMZ save profiles here going forward. Players will have to start 3 of them, each kitted with their own primary and secondary weapons, lethals, tacticals, field upgrades, as well as things like streaks, vests, gas masks, and revives, all saved to individual sort of profiles or active duty slots, so that if you die and lose your gear, you don't have to spend time to immediately regain. If you have another active duty slot that does have things kitted, you can jump back in and go right into the action again with all the saved items on that profile. I also feel like I remember seeing the Exfil streak perks apply to these saved profiles as well, which is definitely interesting, but that'll be available to keep you in the action if you don't quite want to just take some time to regain. I think it's a nice addition. There are 2 different types of backpacks detailed here at this, where one is a secure backpack, which is now something that can allow you to have items that will run between games, even if you end up being taken out, you die, or you're not able to exfil successfully. So whereas previously some of those items you'd end up losing, these will now be protected in a sense. So interesting to see how that will play out, what all is sort of under that protected category. But the other backpack is the scavenger backpack, detailed as giving players the ability to have additional slots to maximize items that you can carry, but at the sacrifice of that sort of air quote third weapon slot where you could stow a weapon in your backpack. That's going to be taken out, but now given in place of that is additional slots for certain items, loot, and all things like that. We also see that we'll have new plate carriers. Detailed are the 3-plate medic vest, which grants faster revives on squad mates as well as yourself for self revives. A 3-plate comms vest, which will have a signal booster, which increases the durations of all UAV tech, as well as granting an audio cue when an enemy operator is close to you, sort of a call out from like the game's overlord. Then the stealth vest was detailed as well, which comes with the built-in ghost perk. Not really sure how I feel about that one just yet, but that is something that will be introduced here, offering up different ways to play based on whatever plate carrier you decide to have. We see introduced with this season is the Rebreather field upgrade. If you played Raid Episode 1, this will be something that is a little bit more familiar. It's an oxygen tank to stay underwater for longer times and has multiple uses before it expires, just like the Revive pistol. It also can be used as a melee weapon, hilariously, which I thought was a funny little detail. Then we have the Skeleton Key, which can unlock nearly any door in DMZ. It also does not substitute as a Building 21 deployment card, but these can be created through the barter system recipes and allow you instant access to almost anywhere within DMZ. We have the new mission coming to DMZ of the supply run contract. Think of the supply run from Warzone and Battle Royale, but now coming over into DMZ. And then a private exfil is going to be available as well with Season 3 that will allow players to buy access to an unused exfil location. There are like 3 exfil locations around the map each DMZ match that you can buy access to one that is not being used in that match. There's more than 3 exfil locations, but they're on rotation with 3 each individual match. This will add a sort of air quote 4th one, but only for you. This removing some of the PvP element that may persist within the exfil process, so taking some of that edge off perhaps if you're a solo player. Definitely a nice addition. As for multiplayer, nothing's really quite been detailed just yet about gameplay changes, but we do know that we'll be seeing weapon tuning that will be present within Season 3, and that's probably the biggest one for the time being that we can touch on, though I'm guessing that is not going to be the only stuff we'll see. There's just been bigger spotlights on things like Warzone and DMZ thus far and the offerings coming to Season 3 to date, but not the only stuff. Now, we also learned about some more smaller stuff, some things that, as always, we touch on, but has been nice to not only rely on just these, are the smaller fixes to Modern Warfare and Warzone as well from the Trello boards. This, for Modern Warfare multiplayer, will see fixes for issues with double kills challenges not tracking in multiplayer, the polyatomic camo being bugged and that texture sort of glitching out that's been persistent since Season 2 Reloaded. Then we'll see fixes for progression of the ISO hemlock that wasn't tracking properly. We'll see changes to the fire mode of the M16 that not being shown on the HUD. There will be fixes for mastery tracking and completion issues, and fixes for further private match issues. In Warzone, we see explicitly stated voice chat inconsistencies being fixed out, a fix for buy station exploits, and a fix for additionally private matches in Warzone not populating properly. And those are the things you can expect to see at launch of Season 3, but again, talking about the changes coming to Season 3 overall, that's not the only stuff you'll end up seeing, because we actually see a decent bit of things coming in season. Firstly, one of the big ones that I'm curious to see, it was detailed in the DMZ side of things, but might also be in Warzone, are armor satchels. That's something that right now, it's kind of interesting because I liked the system of armor satchels in Warzone 1, but right now how we have it, you basically fill up any unused inventory slot in Warzone and DMZ with armor plates as you select them or go over them. So it is something you can hold more than just those 3 armor plates or something, but I'm curious if this armor satchel for DMZ and maybe Warzone again ends up increasing the amount per stack to like 5 or 8 armor plates as opposed to 3. And as a result, you have to kind of take that as an inventory item that allows you to, yeah, it sacrifices 1, but also increase the efficiency of each individual item slot used for a stack of plates beyond that. Curious to see how that'll all work out. Perk packages will be coming. These, though, not like individual perks that we saw in Warzone 1, it seems. Instead, it'll be perk packages like we saw with the default in Warzone 2. So your Vanguard, Commando, Spectre, Scout, Sentinel, Warden, and those perk packages of the base system we saw introduced with Warzone 2, those will be what's available to be picked up. So instead of individual perks, you'll be getting 4 at a time, it seems, with each pickup. So personally, I don't see any real harm in this system, but also you won't have as much sort of potential for variable combinations of perks you could pick up at that point. So I guess with them stacking, it doesn't really do any harm and also can make you a quicker access to like essentially specialist bonus, but it is interesting that we'll see these packages rather than individual perks. We also see that once Plunder is introduced, we're going to see some changes to Plunder overall, where it's mentioned that it'll be a new version of Plunder featuring a few changes in the in-match event system, new buy station items, and permanent rewards even. The in-game events that we'll see change are, of course, Blood Money, that coming back where cash is doubled. Cannon Fodder is something that will be introduced but is redacted at the moment. Heat is an event where black sites and strongholds will pay out 5 times their original rewards. Contractor is a redacted event. Money Siphon is something where ATMs around the map will pour out endless cash for that limited time the event is live, and Chokehold is also something that's redacted. So offering up new ways to play the game within Plunder, but then we'll also see new buy station additions coming where there's items called credit cards, life insurance, and angel investors. Credit cards are going to be something where you air quote save more with the official Bank of a Dog quickscope card, offering 10% cash back on all your purchases. Life insurance saves you 50% of your cash on hand when eliminated by picking up this insurance for a small fee. And angel investor is something where you can put cash down and get a top secret contract with enhanced payout multipliers for whatever the task presented is. And finally, in Plunder, we'll have new rewards where it's not stated if these will be permanent or just for the launch window, but you'll be able to earn things like vehicle camos, calling cards, and more, hopefully indicating things like blueprints or universal camos are also on the way, but there's detailed to be 9 of those unique rewards coming. Again, not sure if it's going to be forever or just that launch window, but some stuff you can earn for just simply playing the game. But anyways, that is the big changes here coming to Modern Warfare 2 multiplayer, Warzone 2, and DMZ. A lot of stuff, honestly, upcoming that has since been expanded upon since its reveal last week. But honestly, Season 3 is shaping up to have a lot of good changes, I think, honestly. I'll be the first to tell you that up to date, there's been a lot of things that have frustrated me with the gameplay, but there's some stuff that's definitely making some headway, and I think there's some good changes. So that said, that's what we're going to call it, and I'd love to get your thoughts and feedback down below on what you think of these changes for Season 3 so far. Now, before we wrap everything up, make sure you check out my friends over at G Fuel for 30% off certain items like Starfruit and Hype Sauce tubs for the month of April. Honestly, those two are in my regular rotation. That and the Morbius Nectarine flavor, those are probably my top 3 right now for G Fuel. It's like a cup of coffee for me in the morning. I have it every day. So if you guys would like to check those out and other items, make sure you check out the link in the description below. And of course, use code Espresso for 20% off all items, but 30% off those certain April item specials that you can end up getting now. But that said, that's what we're gonna call it. So drop your thoughts below. Once again, if you enjoyed the video, you found it at all insightful, do me a favor and drop a like on it. And if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing instead of all things Modern Warfare 2, Warzone 2, and anything COD related. But for now, thanks so much for watching. Mine has been Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.